Drawing upon your work at the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy, combined with your vast knowledge of the teachings of St. Faustina's diary, why is mercy one of God's greatest attributes?
Okay, well, first of all, we have to define what is an attribute. What characterizes an attribute? An attribute is something that's, say, characteristic of the person. So God has all attributes, but God has attributes in their perfect state, in their perfection. So when we say, like, God is one, that there's no division in God, that's an attribute of God. God is truth. God is all truth, perfect truth. There is no lie within God. So there's no duplicity, there's no hypocrisy within God. He's truth itself. We could say God is beauty itself. You cannot get something that's more beautiful than God himself. That even if you were to take all the beauties of the entire earth, of the entire world, still it cannot equal God's beauty, because God is beauty itself. And that will be an attribute. Or we could say God is love, that God has the fullest perfection of love that any being could have. So when we say that God is merciful, we say that God has the highest perfection of mercy more than any other being in the entire universe, more than any human being, more than any angel, that God has the highest perfection of mercy. So then when we say, well, God's greatest attribute is mercy, first of all, that was something that Jesus had revealed to St. Faustina in the diary. It was also something that the saints had revealed, because everything encompasses God's mercy. So even the act of creation encompasses God's mercy, because God, before he created anything, is God. He's perfectly happy, content, and bliss being God. He did not have to create something outside himself. He does not need anyone. He does not need angels. He does not need man. But it was an act of his mercy to create something that was outside of himself, a lower creature, angels and men, and to bestow his gifts, his graces, his blessings upon those creatures, angels and all of human beings. And so everything that God creates is an act of mercy. So you think that creation is an act of mercy, but then when human beings sinned, then God, his mercy did not only become creation, but became redemption through the incarnation of Christ, through his passion, death, and resurrection. And then God giving us the Holy Spirit is also an act of mercy, the church, the sacrament. So everything that God does, materially or spiritually, is an act of mercy. And that's why divine mercy is the greatest attribute of God, which both the saints and said over the centuries, and St. Thomas Aquinas especially said that in the Summa, and then Jesus revealed that in the diary, St. Faustina. And that was the one phrase that convinced her spiritual director, Father Michael Sopochko, who was a very learned man, who was a professor in the seminary. That was the one phrase that convinced him that she was actually having authentic revelations from Jesus, because St. Faustina did not read any theology, and Blessed Michael Sopochko, her spiritual director, said, how could she know this? How could she know something like this, that only the writers of spirituality, the great saints and theologians, would be speaking about this? Because when he went back and looked it up, when she had said that statement, he started finding it in the theologians and the saints and the doctors of the church, that they said mercy is the greatest attribute of God. And that was the one phrase that convinced him that she was not making this up, that she was truly having authentic private revelations from Jesus.
You are listening to the Digital Cafe, presented to you by the Rosary Hour podcast, a production of Travessa de Centro House Press in Porto, Portugal.
This is Father Chris Alar, the Provincial Superior of the Marian Fathers here at the National Shrine of the Divine Mercy, and it's great to be part of the Rosary Hour podcast. This mini-series on the Rosary is an invitation for anyone dedicated to deepening the why behind our prayers. And with that intention, a chance to offer to the Mother of God a genuine desire for change of heart and return to God. Thank you and enjoy, and God bless you.
You can subscribe to our podcast by going to rosaryhourpodcast.substack.com. That's rosaryhourpodcast.substack.com.
Pater eterne, offero tibi corpus et sanguinem, animam et divinitatem dilectissimi Filii